In this lesson presentation, we'll focus on making inferences and drawing conclusions. To infer, as we read, is to go beyond literal interpretation and to open a world of meaning deeply connected to our lives. This definition gives us a pretty good example of the two parts of inferring as we read. The first is we take the text, the literal interpretation, the words we read, but we connect the text to our own lives. What do we mean by making connections? Well, readers are able to think inferentially when they can connect their background of information, ideas, and experiences with the text. This means that as you read, we don't want you to simply read for facts and read for information, but instead we want you to periodically check back, ask yourself, how does this relate to things you've read in the past? How does it relate to your own experiences or your own ideas? And make these kinds of connections between your background knowledge, your experiences, and the text that you read. So let's talk about that word predictions. If you remember, we talked about predictions in the last lesson, and we said that it is related to inferring, but it's different. So what's the difference? The difference is pretty simple. When you make a prediction about an outcome, an event, or an action, it is usually confirmed or contradicted by the end of the story. So you make a guess about how the story will end, and at the end of the story, you either were right or you were wrong. Well, inferences are more open-ended, and they really will remain unresolved when the story draws to a close. Because your inferences are related to your experiences and your prior knowledge, they're unique to you. And so they're not something that you'll be able to say, yes or no, this was a right or wrong answer when the story's over. So how do we make these inferences? Well, one is through our imagination and visualization. When you read, you actually use all of your senses. You see things in your mind's eye, and you hear the sounds that you connect to that about which you are reading. In other words, you imagine the story taking place in your mind. And this visualization is really kind of an important idea. Proficient readers use images to draw conclusions, to create distinct and unique interpretations of the text, to recall details significant to the text, and to recall a text after it's been read. So you use imagery and visualization to come to conclusions about what a character might look like, for example, to create your own unique interpretations. How something is described and interpreted in your mind is different from the way someone else might see it. You use it to recall details. So if you have to remember what a particular character said, you may visualize that moment in the story after you've read the story in order to recall it, and to recall a text after it has been read. Here's how you know if you do this. Have you ever read a story and then seen the movie of the story afterwards, and the first time the main character comes on screen you think, that's not how I imagined them? Or you see a battle or a conflict that occurs and you think, that's not how I imagined it. Or maybe you think that's exactly what I thought it would be. Well, that's because you visualize that story, and that's what we mean here.